Happy Thursday, everybody. Andy and Steve from WagerTalk.com. Welcome to the Road to Millions. Got a great show for everybody. We're going to go over a couple bets in Thursday night football. Tough game with the Trevor Lawrence situation. Looks like he's going to be a true game time decision, but still got a couple looks we think you can take a look at. It is Team Total Thursday. Going to go over our favorite team totals for the weekend. We got your fade of the day, sleeper of the day, and the stat of the day. Go ahead and hit that like button, guys. It really lets the algorithm know you like us. And let's start with some positive vibes from the audience. So let's take a look at Monday's show. Scott is taking a look at the McCaffrey news. He's all over San Francisco in the survivor pool. Logan wants to know a strategy for playing ladders when you like players' alt totals. I don't do ladders. I just one play. That's it. If I like an alt total, I just parlay it with something else, and then it's just one play for me. So I don't mess with those. So happy Monday. Been having good success with NHL shot on goal props. I know the Connor Bedard one has been money in the bank recently. So nice job on those. Tyler hit 2 separate plus 400 parlays on Sunday. Nice. You should do a video on FanDuel's profit boost. I don't know. I'm on the fence about that. I don't know about the profit boosts. I'll think about it. I know how they work and I know how they operate. I just don't. I don't mess with them. So I don't know. Let's see. I think that is. Oh yeah, Brandon Cooks. It's amazing he went over his receptions and under his receiving total by half a yard. So
I still can't believe Gallup had 10 targets in that game and didn't go over his receiver. Like, wow.
Yeah, that was my fault on the Monday Night Football play. I don't know. My fault. I like
No,
in the write up. In the write up, I was like, he gets a bunch of targets. He gets 10 targets and 30.
Prescott had like one other incompletion. It was that loft bomb that he threw to Pollard in the back of the end zone. He knew he wasn't going to complete that one, and other than that, it was just Gallup. Oh man, that pass in the end zone that he dropped at the end of the second half. That's the one that really haunts me.
Yeah, into the first half. Yeah,
First half, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Dak had 9 incompletions and 7 of them were to Gallup. So fun times. Really, really fun times. So, all right, let's get into some bets. And leave us a comment, guys. Tell us what you're winning at. If you've had a good couple days. Kind of a little bit slower day. Probably a lot of hockey action. But just let us know in the comment section. And if you're still alive in the Survivor Pool, get your picks in there. We'll update everything on tomorrow's show. So. All right, Steve, let's get into 2 NFL best bets. Alvin Kamara over 30.5 receiving. I'm going Calvin Ridley under 52.5 receiving. So you're playing with fire on this one, my friend.
Yeah, really going out on a really really going out on a limb here, but yeah, it's the obvious play, but sometimes those cash, and I love this one tonight. He's cashed in 2 of 3 games. 8.3 targets and 7+ receptions per game. You gotta love that. The Saints have some offensive line injuries, as both sides do, so Carr could be looking to dump it off in this one frequently, and I'm assuming that's kind of been what they've done in the past couple of weeks anyway. And then you got the Jags coming in really vulnerable to running backs. You know, they've allowed 40+ receiving yards per game to opposing backs. That's the 7th most. 39 total receptions. That's the 3rd most. And then look at last week. Jonathan Taylor, your Colts, 5 for 46. Moss, 6 for 38. Every week they've had a running back get close to or go over this total. And most of them aren't as good of a receiving back as Kamara is. So we say the obvious ones. We stay away from them sometimes, but they also cash sometimes too. And that's what I'm expecting tonight with Kamara.
Well, yeah. So the general thing that we've been trying to do with these primetime games is sniff out what's the obvious play that everyone is on, and then run for the hills, and just don't play it because it hasn't the obvious play hasn't been working. So Kamara over as receiving definitely is a popular one on Twitter, which is red flags, but we'll see. We'll see. Like you said, the obvious ones hit sometimes. I will go with Calvin Ridley under 52.5 receiving. I don't know what it is with this guy. Like one amazing game against the Colts in Week 1, then one amazing game again in England. Other than that, it's just been a lot of 30 and 40 yard games. And the biggest thing with this one is Trevor Lawrence, like we said, he is a true game time decision. They're going to try and let him see how it feels tonight. I feel like 99% of the time when they say that, the guy's going to play. Like, you're a starting quarterback in the NFL. You're the leader of the team. Like, if you're going to try it out, you're probably going to say, yes, I feel great. So, but if he doesn't play, now we're sitting on a beautiful number if their backup comes in and play. But the Saints, I mean, they're the sixth best team against outside wide receivers, and they have lockdown corners. And it just feels like Christian Kirk is kind of the one moving the ball. So is Travis Etienne on this team, and Ridley he's feast or famine so far. Like he's either going to get you 35 yards or 100. So I'll roll the dice that this just isn't going to be a great Calvin Ridley night. So I feel like well, at least based on what we've seen so far, if you just play Calvin Ridley under every week, it's like an easy cash or you just get murdered in the first half. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there hasn't been any in betweens on this. So I think the books are kind of struggling because I believe this is probably his average, but you have some really, really inflated games and then some really, really bad ones. So I'll just roll with Ridley under his total on this one. So those are your two best bets. I gotta say though, just we have an official best bet that's up. It's a same game parlay, but not a game to go big on. I
Yeah,
guess.
there's just a lot of question marks around this game. So
Yeah, not lucky, but just try and get a unit out of there. But this isn't anything that I would recommend a big play on. So, all right, what plays do we have up? We do have our same game parlay up. It's going to be like a 1.5% play. So we do love it. It's really solid. There were two pieces that we loved in this game. So we are able to take advantage of that. The UFC Gold 5% play, that is still up. We have our NHL best bet that is up for tonight, and then college football best bet 6-1 this season. Steve, we only need one play a week to turn a profit in college football. Another fantastic call by you last week. Big promo. They only run this a couple times a year. There's no promo code needed. You can just get it on our profile page. 30 days for $199. All plays, all 5%, all sports. So again, no promo code. Just go to my profile page, and it's right there on the right, so you can get a month's worth of plays. So really good time to get it. We've got a golf play that's going. Formula One is this week. They're racing down in Austin, Texas. So really good week to grab that one. And I don't think it's going to be up for more than a few days. So 30 days, $199. They only run this a couple times a year. So take advantage of that. And let's keep the good week going. All right, Steve, you ready for team total?
Yes, sir.
We needed some music for team total. So every week, Steve and I give you our favorite over total and our favorite under. I like the Commanders over 20.5, and I like the under on the Broncos. Steve is going with the Dolphins over 24.5. He's fading my Colts 18.5. Hard to blame him. So, all right, Steve, I'm going to go with the Commanders, the high-flying Commanders on the over. I guess they're playing the Giants. Talk about recency bias. Like, felt like the Giants just went all in on last week's game. Like, they Herculean effort. The Bills didn't look great. I don't know. This feels like they went all in, and this might be a little bit of a letdown spot. So the Commanders had 31 against the Eagles, 20 on the short week against the Bears. That was their letdown spot for sure. They had that tough overtime game against the Eagles. They come back only 20 against the Bears. 24 in the win last week against the Falcons. Sam Howell didn't throw for a lot of yards, but he had 3 touchdown passes. And I just think this is a pretty big letdown spot. Don't forget, even with last week's game, the Giants are the second worst in yards per play allowed. This is not a good defense. They had one amazing week. So I'm just going with the Commanders over 20.5. So as my favorite over. All right, Steve, Dolphins taking the high-flying Dolphins offense again, right?
Yes, sir. They've went over in 4 of 6 games so far this season. and they scored 20 and 24 in the other two games. So the 20 is their floor. And then now you put in the Eagles into this game, and the Eagles struggle against the pass, and you see that they have some defensive backs that are injured. Darius Slay and Blankenship are both questionable in this game. I think both teams push the scoring. The Eagles push it a little bit, and I know that they've managed to hold the ball recently and kind of keep their opponents under this total. But this high flying Dolphins offense, I'm expecting them to go over this 24.5 this week.
Nice. I did a breakdown video on this game. I took the over for the full game. I'm with you. When the
Yeah, it's going to be
Dolphins,
a high
yeah,
scoring.
when the Dolphins play a good offense, their totals are in the 60s. It's really crazy. All right, favorite under Broncos 22 and a half. Have you seen the Broncos? I don't understand this number. 22 and a half. What is that? What kind of
Yeah,
random number is that? So 21 points against the Jets, 8 points against the Chiefs. Only gone over this total against the Commanders and the Bears. And Green Bay, 10th best in yards per play defense. So Green Bay, kind of a stingy little defense, and the Packers, they've held the Bears, the Saints, and the Raiders under this total. Those are offenses kind of in the same ballpark as Broncos in terms of efficiency and putting up points. Broncos, you give me anything over 3 touchdowns, I'm going to be, against a competent defense, I'm probably just going to be looking at the under. I mean, man, that team is just, they finally get a good defensive performance against Kansas City, and the offense just, like, completely lets them down. So, under Broncos on this really kind of strange number at 22 and a half. So, I'll take it. It's over 3 touchdowns. All right, Steve, fading my Colts. Minshew had real trouble throwing to the right team last week.
yeah.
So, what do you like?
Another weird number here at 18 and a half. So they're coming up with some weird ones this week, but admittedly they've went over this total in every game, but this is going to be their biggest test. This defense will be their biggest test of the year. I feel like Minshew limits them a little bit, and you mentioned his struggles last week. The Browns have held 3 of 5 opponents under this total, and we watched them hold the 49ers to 17 last week. I know the Niners had some injuries to McCaffrey and Debo, but they still held them to 17. That this defense is legit. And man, unless it's some sort of crazy turnover or something like that, I can't see the Colts going over this total this week.
As a Colts fan, I think I hope that they just kind of go into tank mode. I hope Gardner Minshew is just terrible for the rest of the year. Like Richardson's out. I'm not really sure what we're playing for. We have no shot. Even if we do somehow sneak into the playoffs, I don't know. Like we don't have any upside for this year. So we saw out of Richardson. He's going to be good. He's getting his shoulder fixed, which should be good long term. So I'm rooting for this under. So I'm pulling for this one. I hope we have a losing streak to improve that draft pick. So, all right, Steve, I'm going to start with the fade of the day. Shara Magomedov. He's making his UFC debut. He's a big favorite. I like his opponent plus 235. He has one eye. That's the handicap. It literally is the handicap. He has one eyeball that works. So it was a training. He was training in was it 2019? Cut his eye, had a ton of surgeries, and it didn't heal. So he's fighting with one eye. Very
It's a
weak
disadvantage.
opponents. Yeah, I have not liked the opponents that he's beaten. Fights in these fights in these they're not obscure, but they're certainly not UFC caliber leagues. And I think people see the Magomedov name and they think wrestler, and he's not a wrestler. He's a striker. He throws a bazillion kicks, body kicks, leg kicks, over and over and over, and he's going up against a striker. And this Bruno Silva, he's lost a few, but he's lost by submission, and that's not what this guy does. And I think Bruno Silva is going to be his biggest step up, and I get a really, really good price at plus 235. Listen, one of the biggest fears about betting against someone with the name Magomedov this week is that the card is in Abu Dhabi, and we know what happens over there. They're kind of not even they don't even try and hide it, but I don't know, man. When you have a huge step up in competition and you can't see out of one of your eyes, it just feels like you're asking for trouble betting on this guy. So, um, he's inspirational to a lot of people. It's pretty amazing how well he's done since then. But I don't know. I just can't bet on a guy this big of a favorite who has one eye that works. So give me Bruno Silva plus 235. I think he can. I think he can hit him a couple times on that right side if Magomedov's not ready. So that's my fate of the day. UFC fighter with one eye.
It's a disadvantage, that's for sure.
Yeah, the heartbreaking analysis here on the road to millions. So, sleeper of the day, you're looking towards the Astros liking their team total, right?
Yeah, their bats were asleep prior to last night, but they woke up with 8 runs, and they've just all year they've been a better hitting team on the road than they are at home. Looking at their record, they had 51 road wins and only 39 home wins, so they just thrive on the road. They also thrive against left-handed pitching. Top three, you look at almost any category against lefties this season, and they're top three. They're number one in most of these categories, if not top three. And we have some hitters with a good history against the lefty Heaney. Altuve, 12 for 37. Bregman, 11 for 35. Abreu, 5 for 19 with 4 home runs. So I know it's not the biggest sleeper. I mean, the way to look at the game outside of playing the money line or a full game total, I think that it probably goes over on both ends because this is a good way to avoid relying on Urquidy from the Astros. If it was at 5.5, I wouldn't have used it, obviously, but at 4.5, this Astros team on the road, it's guaranteed 9 full innings of at bats, 5 runs. Give me the over.
Love it. Looking at the Astros as our sleeper of the day. Once again, guys, we're running the special 30 days for 199 bucks. All plays, all sports, 5% plays included. Really good day to take advantage of it. You start getting plays tonight, and then we have Formula One this week. 5% NFL. All of our hockey plays 3-0, perfect 3-0 in hockey so far. 6-1 in college football. So keeping it low volume, and it's working. Let's get to the stat of the day before we get out of here. Steve, Raheem Mostert has more TDs than Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Bijan Robinson, and Miles Sanders combined.
Wow.
However, I'm going to throw a little cold water here on the Dolphins. The combined record of the teams the Dolphins have beat is 5-22. They have literally played the worst of the worst in the league. And the one time they did play a good team, they got boat raced off the field by Buffalo. So I guess I don't know. I know it's hard to like tell people in fantasy leagues maybe sell high on these guys, but I mean Raheem Mostert's schedule literally has not been, you couldn't have asked for an easier schedule to start the year, with these guys. So I don't know. I expect some regression over the course of the year. I heard someone talking about the Broncos when Peyton Manning first went there and how the Broncos did this. They actually were putting up more points on average than the Dolphins, believe it or not. And they just slowly kind of like got worse over the course of the year and then got killed in the Super Bowl by the Seahawks. So Dolphins flying high, but yeah, that Raheem Mostert. My God, if you have Raheem Mostert in your fantasy league, you're pretty much guaranteed you've got a great record, right?
Yeah, and what stands out to me is what's crazy is Mostert's touchdown number could be even bigger.
Yeah.
Even imagine if A Chain wouldn't have vultured those touchdowns when he was playing, Mostert could have another 3 or 4 touchdowns easily out of those. I wouldn't. Yeah, A Chain had what, 7 or
Yeah,
something like that before he went down.
something
So
crazy.
you get to think Mostert would have gotten a couple of those, so he could even have more touchdowns at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's gonna do it for us, guys. Hit the like button, leave us a comment, tell us what you're winning at, and go grab these plays. We got a lot of units available for this weekend starting tonight. So we got Thursday night football, UFC, college football, NHL, a lot of good stuff. But really, the best one, go grab that promo, 30 days for $199. All right, guys, we're going to do our 6 NFL best bets tomorrow. We're also going to do Survivor Pool, and maybe tomorrow I'll tell some stories from being at the Price is Right. So good luck on all
Nice.
your plays, and I will see everyone tomorrow. Me and Steve will be back on Friday. Good luck.
Good luck.